Have you ever watched your favorite goalie and they go down their butterfly and then they're starting to slide around in that butterfly, making wicked saves left and right? And then you're thinking, hey, I'm going to try this next time on the ice. And you jump on the ice and you try planting your leg in your butterfly, and instead of making awesome saves, you're spinning in circles, you're falling over, your knee starts cramping up, and it's just not working out. Well, you're not alone. The power push or butterfly push or backside push or whatever you want to call it, that's sliding around while you're in your butterfly position, for me personally, was one of the hardest moves to actually learn to do. So when I do this on ice, my body definitely does not agree with me while I do it. But I've gotten to a point where I can comfortably do this during games without really having to think about it anymore. It's still a heavy work in progress, and it's something that I work on every session I'm on. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a few small nuances that I picked up along the way while trying to learn this move. And hopefully some of these tips and tricks will help you out getting your path down to the butterfly push / power push, whatever the heck you want to call it. Because I'm a self-taught beer leaguer, anytime I do these types of videos where I show tips and tricks, they're based on something what I like to call Goalie science. Meaning all these things that I'm showing are based off of things that work for me and may not be in line with proper goaltending technique. Because of this, I've added a few links below from more qualified individuals that can show the butterfly push properly. So with that disclaimer aside, I'm going to throw some skates and pads on and let's talk about the butterfly push. Alright, so the first and most important thing that I didn't know about when trying to do this move was when you go into your butterfly, you have to keep your hips up. Okay, so what I mean by that is you have to have somewhat of an upright hip posture. So if you drop into your butterfly and you're kind of like sagging back like this, what I like to call saggy butt syndrome, it's gonna make your life a lot more difficult to do butterfly push or really any move when you're in your down position. So if you're not able to drop into your butterfly and have an upright hip position like this, you want to start to work on that as well. If you end up kind of dropping down like a butterfly like this, you can pop back up and then start to do your push as well too. So still kind of works, but it's going to help a lot more if you're able to consistently drop into your butterfly with your hips up. And I'm going to keep talking about the hips being up throughout the process because I found that that's something that I completely missed when I tried to learn this, and it's actually really, really important. The next thing is obviously planting your foot to get a good bite and then pushing across. So bringing your leg up like this, and then kind of getting a bite of ice to push across. So this to me was one of the more difficult things to really understand and figure out. For me personally, I actually have a hard time getting into this position where my leg is close to my body. If you watch any of the game footage that I have when I do this move, I'm actually pushing kind of like from here. So I'm actually digging in with my toe. A lot of people will say get your full blade on the ice and then push across, which is totally correct, but based on your flexibility, your mobility, and your body type, I just simply cannot really do this comfortably. So getting on my toes like this is a bit easier for me to get a bit more bite. So if this is all you can do, that's totally fine. You can still push across, it just won't be as powerful. If you're able to kind of get your full blade like that, and then get a good bite and push across, that's super awesome. So a lot of the work is gonna kind of come in while your push leg is up, and this is where you're gonna find when you're trying to learn this, your skate's gonna kind of blow out sometimes when you try to push. So what you can try and do is put your foot down where it's comfortable, okay, whether it's further out like me using your toe or a bit closer in, whatever is good for you, and just try to do a few C cuts like this. Okay, what this is going to allow your body to do is learn how to kind of control your edges. So I can feel my back edge, my heel, going down to my toe edge, going back to my heel, and just do this a few times so your body knows where to put its leg to get a grip on the ice, basically. So if you're not familiar with using your edges or controlling your edges, this is a really good exercise just to kind of start getting familiar with that. Let's say that you have a position that's comfortable for your body and you're actually getting a good edge, okay? So I've got kind of like the balls of my feet digging into it. It's not my full blade. You'll see that it's just the toe part of it. The next part is to obviously push across. And one of the mistakes that I did when I was trying to do this is I was kind of jumping across, or I didn't really know how to push across. And you might have this problem too, but The way that you actually want to push across is to use the balls of your feet to do that power push. Again, imagine this is my foot. I'm actually kind of thinking about my toes gripping, like grabbing the ice, like that, and then pushing. I have to actually think about it sometimes before I can do it. If you have your leg planted and you're trying to push and it kind of just juts out like that and you're not really grabbing anything, just relax your feet a little bit and just like think about gripping the ice with your feet. Then you're really going to be able to kind of just get a nice push like that. So once you're comfortable gripping the ice with the balls of your feet, the next step is to transfer your weight from the push leg to your lead leg, which is over here. Okay. And so when I load my leg, I'm going to shift my weight slightly. So everything is kind of weighted on my push leg like this, and I'm going to push. And then we're going to transfer the energy that way. So a common thing that happened when I was trying to learn this is when I got my push down, I would push, but I would kind of just collapse over, or I'll start spinning in circles. And the reason why is because, again, like I talked about in the very beginning, is you want to keep that hip upwards, keep this core tight, and not really kind of just like the mid beer gut section over here, but you actually want to think about tightening up the side, so the lead side over here. It's kind of a weird concept, but you want to tighten up this side of your core, like really tighten up the side that you're going towards. I'm loading my push leg, I'm tightening up this side of my core, and I'm really holding on to that tightly, and then I'm going to push. So now that we have that down, you notice that I'm actually not really flaring my leg out while I'm doing this. If you're like me, who's been sitting at a desk for 20 years, you probably don't have much hip internal rotation, so I don't really have much of a flare anyway. When you're actually trying to practice this, I found that when I tried to flare this out and then also tried to push like this, like my body is just like, hell no, I'm not doing that, right? When I'm trying to practice this for the first few times, I'm just doing what's comfortable for my body. So you see I'm not even flaring my leg at all. And then over time, as you build strength and flexibility, you can try to obviously keep your flare leg out as you push. So when you're actually doing the push with this leg, once you're comfortable gripping the ice and kind of pushing and moving your power from one side to the other, one thing that you can start to do is when you do your push, you want to push and fully extend that leg instead of doing like a short push. So you don't want to think about it if you're doing like a leg press on a leg machine. You're going to want to kind of pull that into like full extension, and that's going to give you like a lot more power and distance if that's something that you want to do. So again, I'll plant my leg and then I'll fully extend that like that. So you can even, when you're practicing this, you can even just do like a half butterfly like that and just seeing that your leg is fully extended. So as a full sequence, I'm popping down my butterfly, my hips are up, nice and rigid, my core is tight, planting my leg wherever's comfortable, so I have my toe dug into the ice, and I'm gripping the ice with the balls of my feet. I'm transferring my weight onto this push leg, and then I'm going to also kind of pivot and look to the direction that I want to go, and I'm making a focus on keeping this core tight and making sure that my hips are upwards, okay, super important. And then I'm going to fully extend my leg for a push and bring my pads back in, close the butterfly. So you're still having a few troubles executing this, even after kind of thinking about all those things. I also found that when you're in your butterfly, if you do a pivot and then plant and then push, for some reason I feel that's actually a little bit easier. You're probably going to be doing that naturally in the game, as opposed to kind of going horizontally like this anyway. You're going to keep moving mostly on angles. So what that's going to look like is, I'm down my butterfly, going to look where I want to go, and I pivot, and then I plant my leg, and then I'm going to push that way. So in order to kind of get used to doing that, you can always just practice doing pivots like that. And I found that actually really helped when practicing this, so it was actually really frustrating for me to kind of go in a straight line. As soon as I just kind of did a pivot, plant, push, it was way easier to do. It was a lot easier to do the butterfly push. Okay, so we're going to just do one of these without the pads on, so you can see what my legs are doing. So I'm down my butterfly, my hips are up, I'm going to plant my leg, that. I'm gonna get my toe nice and dug in using the balls of my feet. I'm gonna look to where I want to go, focus on my core, and I'm gonna push like that. Should be pretty happy that I'm leaving my socks on because you don't want to look at my gnarly feet. I'm showing you guys my feet because if you look at my left foot here, it's naturally pointed outwards. Okay, so compared to my right leg. And this is important because when you're doing this move, if you imagine that I'm going from right to left, I'm actually planting my foot like this. So I'm kind of internally rotating and then I'm pushing across. That's actually pretty easy for me to do on my right leg. But for my left, because it's naturally externally rotated, I have to kind of do an extra internal rotation just to get my foot perpendicular to the direction that I want to go. So naturally it's kind of pointed this way. I gotta like really crank it like that and then try to push across. So I actually really have a hard time going from left to right, and it actually causes me quite a bit of knee pain sometimes. But if for some reason you're just having some trouble doing this, have a look at your feet. You might have some weird external rotation problems like I do, and that might be preventing you from sliding the way that you want to. And the other thing that's important when doing this is if you're one of those guys who sharpens their skates once a year, I'll be really impressed if you can do power pushes well, but you definitely want to have an edge while trying to do a butterfly push. And the way that I check my edges, and this is what an old grizzled pro shop guy showed me ages ago, is I actually run my fingernail along the edge, kind of scrape it. If I actually see some fingernail left over on my blade, then I know I still have a fairly decent edge. Not sure if this is really the best way to do it, but this is what I've been doing for like 20 years. So call me crazy and old-fashioned, but it works for me. And the last thing that you can also check is making sure that you have enough slack from your toe ties. So when you're down in your butterfly, you want to make sure that your toe is able to hit the ground like that. So just having a bit of slack in your toe tie is also going to help you achieve your power push. So I know when I was trying to learn this technique, I was looking at videos on YouTube, and usually the video was like, oh, I go to my butterfly, I put my plant leg in and I push and I'm good to go. It wasn't until I actually spent like hours on the synthetic ice, just trying to like figure out small nuances to get my body to actually be able to push myself across. It's still not perfect, I'm still working on this thing. So if you're having problems with the butterfly push, try some of the things that I just talked about. It could just be like one of those small issues that will allow you to do the correct butterfly push that you want. Again, this is like not really a natural position for your body to be in. It's gonna be a little bit hard on your joints. I know when I practice this, my legs are like, hell no. But in my head, I'm like, I gotta learn this thing because I gotta stop more pucks. And I'm sure you're in the same boat as I am. So hopefully this video helps. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other tips for doing the butterfly push. And definitely let me know if some of these tips have helped any of you out. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.